Welcome to AudioFi. This audiobook has been thoughtfully created using research-backed principles from psychology, neuroscience, and personal development. Every chapter is designed to help you understand yourself better, think clearer, and grow stronger from the inside out. So, find a quiet space, sit back, and allow yourself to absorb these transformative ideas. Listen with an open mind and a ready heart, because the change you seek may just begin with this very moment. There is a constant hum in your head, and you think it is normal. That low-level anxiety that never fully disappears. The voice that replays yesterday's conversations, word by word. The mind that creates problems that do not exist and solves disasters that will never happen. You have been living with this mental noise for so long that you forgot what silence sounds like. But that noise is not your natural state. That overthinking is not protecting you from anything real. It is stealing your peace, one thought at a time. And today is the day you take it back. This is not about positive thinking or pretending problems do not exist. This is about learning practical steps to turn down the volume on mental chaos and build unshakable calm from the inside out. The power of not caring, practical steps to stop overthinking and reclaim your mental peace. Chapter 1. Stop playing their game and start winning your own. You have to stop playing their game and start winning your own. Every minute you spend measuring yourself against invisible scoreboards created by other people is a minute of overthinking stolen from your peace. Right now, your mind is trapped in 3 rigged games that fuel endless mental loops. The approval game, where you replay every interaction searching for signs of judgment. The expectation game, where you torture yourself for not meeting standards you never chose. The perfection game, where your brain obsesses over tiny flaws until they become massive problems. These games are designed to keep your mind spinning. And you will never win, because the rules change every time you get close to victory. Stop playing their game, because their game is specifically engineered to create overthinking. Their game makes you refresh social media compulsively, checking likes and comments. Their game makes you analyze text messages, looking for hidden meanings that do not exist. Their game makes you rehearse conversations in your head for hours before they happen. You achieve one goal, and your mind immediately creates 5 new worries. You solve one problem, and your brain invents 10 more potential disasters. This is why your mind never stops racing. You are trying to win at a competition designed to keep you mentally exhausted. I know a man named David who played their game perfectly for 15 years. Successful lawyer, making partner at 35, with everything society said should make him happy. But he was lying awake every night, replaying client meetings word by word, wondering if he said something wrong. He was checking his email obsessively during family dinners, because his brain convinced him missing one message meant career disaster. He was living by borrowed rules, while his own mind tortured him with endless what-if scenarios about failure, rejection, and disappointment. Here are the exact steps David used to break free from overthinking and reclaim his mental peace. Your first practical step. Right now, take out your phone and open your Notes app. Write down the top 3 things that make your mind race the most. Be completely honest. Maybe it is what people think about your social media posts. Maybe it is whether you are successful enough compared to your peers. Maybe it is analyzing every word choice in important conversations. Now ask yourself the most important question you will ever ask. Did I choose to care about these things? Or did someone else program me to care about them? If you are like most people, at least 2 of those mental loops came from external programming. Your parents, who obsessed over appearances. Your school system, that ranked you against classmates. Your culture, that turned life into a performance where everyone is watching and judging. Social media algorithms, designed to make you compare and despair. You are overthinking because you internalized other people's measurement systems, and your brain is working overtime trying to win games you never agreed to play. Your second practical step happens every morning for the next 30 days. Before you check your phone, before you start your day, write down 3 questions and answer them honestly. Did I act according to my values yesterday, regardless of the outcome? Did I learn something meaningful about myself or the world? Did I show up authentically, even when it felt risky? These questions redirect your mental energy from external validation to internal alignment. When you measure yourself by your own standards, your mind stops spinning about what everyone else thinks. Your third practical step is the reset phrase, for when your mind gets caught in approval loops. The moment you catch yourself overthinking what someone thinks about you, say out loud, "I release the need to control other people's opinions about me." Say it 3 times. Write it down. Make it your mental circuit breaker. Most people's minds spin for hours, analyzing facial expressions and tone of voice. You are going to interrupt that loop the second it starts. Stop playing their game and start winning your own, because this is not about becoming indifferent to everything. This is about becoming strategically selective about what deserves your mental energy. When your brain tries to replay that awkward moment from last week, you redirect it to planning tomorrow's priorities. When your mind wants to analyze whether your boss's email sounded annoyed, you redirect it to improving your actual work performance. You train your brain to focus on what you can control instead of spinning about what you cannot change. Your fourth practical step is the evening mental audit. Every night before bed, write down 3 thoughts that took up the most mental space today. Next to each thought, write either "my territory" or "not my territory." Thoughts about your effort level, your attitude, your choices. Go in my territory. Thoughts about other people's opinions, future outcomes you cannot guarantee. External circumstances. Go in "not my territory." This practice trains your brain to recognize when it is wasting energy on things outside your control. The people who live with mental peace are not people with perfect lives. They are people who got tired of letting other people's scoreboards control their thoughts. They built their own definition of success based on their own values. They trained their minds to focus on their own path, instead of comparing themselves to everyone else's highlight reel. You can make that same decision today, but only if you commit to these practical steps every single day. This is where your mental freedom begins. Not with changing the world around you, but with changing what you allow to occupy your thoughts. Stop playing their game and start winning your own. Train your mind to focus on what actually matters, because if you do not train your mind, someone else will program it for you. Chapter 2. Your ancient brain is not your enemy. Your ancient brain is not your enemy, but it is the reason you cannot stop overthinking. You have been fighting against the very system that kept your species alive for 200,000 years. You call yourself broken for having racing thoughts, when racing thoughts are actually your brain doing exactly what evolution designed it to do. You hate yourself for worst-case scenario thinking, when worst-case scenario thinking is your mind trying to keep you safe. Today, you stop fighting your brain and start reprogramming how you respond to it. Your ancient brain is not your enemy, but it desperately needs an operating system update. Your brain is running on software written 50,000 years ago, when overthinking about potential threats meant the difference between life and death. Back then, the person who thought the most about where predators might hide was the person who survived. The person who planned for every possible disaster was the person who lived through famines and attacks. Your brain learned that thinking about problems constantly was the key to survival. But your ancient brain cannot tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an unanswered text message. Your primitive alarm system treats both as life-threatening emergencies. When someone does not respond to your message immediately, your brain creates the same stress response your ancestors had when they were being stalked by predators. When you have to give a presentation at work, your mind floods your body with the same panic hormones designed for escaping wild animals. The overthinking that tortures you is just your ancient brain trying to solve modern problems with Stone Age solutions. Here is your first practical technique for working with your ancient brain, instead of against it. The moment you notice your mind starting to spiral about something that cannot be solved right now, you implement the 5-minute rule. Set a timer for exactly 5 minutes and allow yourself to think about the problem completely. Write down every worry, every possible solution, every worst-case scenario. When the timer goes off, you say out loud, "Time is up," and you move your body. Do jumping jacks, walk around the block, do 10 push-ups. Physical movement signals to your ancient brain that you have taken action, and the emergency is over. Your second practical technique is the tiger test, for when your brain convinces you that normal problems are life-threatening emergencies. Every time anxiety spikes, you ask yourself 3 questions out loud. Is there an actual predator in this room right now? If this problem happened, what would I realistically do about it? Have I survived similar situations before? This simple diagnostic forces your rational mind to override your emotional mind and remind your ancient brain that you are not actually in physical danger. I learned this the hard way when I spent 18 months having panic attacks about things that seemed completely irrational. Grocery shopping triggered fight or flight responses. Phone calls made my heart race, like I was running from wolves. Job interviews felt like life or death battles. I thought something was fundamentally wrong with me, until I realized my brain was working perfectly. It was just using ancient programming to handle modern situations that required completely different responses. Your third practical technique is called thought scheduling, and it stops your brain from overthinking problems at random times throughout the day. Instead of letting worry thoughts interrupt your focus whenever they want, you create a designated daily worry time. Pick the same 15 minutes every day, maybe 6 p.m., and make that your official problem-solving time. When worry thoughts pop up during the day, you write them down and tell your brain, "We will handle this at 6 p.m." Then at 6 p.m., you review your list and either take action or cross out problems you cannot solve today. Your fourth practical technique is the ancient brain translation for when overthinking spirals feel overwhelming. Your ancient brain speaks in extremes like, "Everyone will reject me," or "This will ruin everything." You translate these primitive messages into realistic modern language. "Everyone will reject me" becomes, "Some people might not like this decision, and that is normal." "This will ruin everything" becomes, "This might be challenging, and I will figure out how to handle it." You acknowledge the ancient alarm without believing its dramatic interpretations. Your fifth practical technique is called the gratitude circuit breaker, because your ancient brain cannot be anxious and grateful simultaneously. The moment you catch your mind spinning in worst-case scenarios, you immediately list 3 specific things you are grateful for right now. Not generic gratitude, but detailed appreciation. I am grateful for the warm coffee in my hands right now. I am grateful that my body allowed me to sleep last night. I am grateful for the sunlight coming through this window. This interrupts the anxiety spiral and reminds your ancient brain that you are currently safe. You have to practice these techniques every single day, because your ancient brain will test you constantly with false emergency alerts. Every day brings new triggers that activate prehistoric panic responses. Your job is not to eliminate these responses. Your job is to become so skilled at recognizing false alarms that you can calm your system down before it hijacks your entire day. The strongest people alive are not people with anxiety-free brains. They are people who have learned to work with anxious brains effectively. Your ancient brain is not your enemy, and it never will be. It has kept humans alive through ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters for hundreds of thousands of years. Your brain deserves respect, not hatred. But respect means setting boundaries. You honor your brain's protective instincts while refusing to let Stone Age programming control your modern life. When you master this balance, you stop being terrorized by your own thoughts and start becoming the conscious director of your mental energy. Chapter 3. Build your perimeter and guard it with your life. You have to build your perimeter and guard it with your life, because your mental energy is under constant attack. Every person who dumps their emotional chaos on you, every news notification designed to trigger outrage, every social media algorithm engineered to make you feel inadequate, every family member who treats their anxiety like your emergency. Right now, everyone and everything has unlimited access to your headspace, and it is creating an overthinking epidemic in your mind. You either build walls around your peace, or you spend your life drowning in other people's mental noise. Build your perimeter and guard it with your life, because your attention determines the quality of your thoughts. Where you put your focus shapes your reality. When you let every external trigger hijack your mental space, you lose the ability to think clearly about what actually matters. When you try to care about everything equally, you master nothing and help no one, including yourself. Strategic indifference is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming selective. It is about protecting your mental bandwidth so you can actually solve the problems that belong to you. I learned this from watching my business mentor, Elena, handle a crisis that would have sent most people into complete mental breakdown. Her company was being sued by 3 different parties. Key employees were quitting without notice. Customers were demanding refunds for a product defect that cost millions to fix. The local media was attacking her reputation online. Everyone around her was panicking, but she stayed completely centered and focused. When I asked how she managed to think clearly in chaos, she showed me a practice that changed my life forever. Here is your first practical technique for building mental boundaries. Every morning, before you check your phone or talk to another person, you spend 5 minutes doing the control circle mapping exercise. Draw 2 circles on a piece of paper. In the smaller inner circle, write everything you can directly influence today. Your effort level, your attitude, your response to problems, your choices about what to focus on. In the larger outer circle, write everything you cannot control, other people's opinions, external circumstances, past mistakes, future outcomes. You commit to spending mental energy only on the inner circle. Your second practical technique is called the boundary phrase method, for when people try to dump their mental chaos into your space. Instead of absorbing their anxiety, you respond with one of 3 boundary phrases. For emotional dumping, you say, "I can see this is really bothering you, and I hope you find a solution that works." For other people's emergencies, you say, "That sounds challenging, and I trust you to handle it." For guilt trips about not caring enough, you say, "I care about you, and I also need to protect my energy right now." These phrases acknowledge without absorbing. Your third practical technique is the information diet, because your brain cannot distinguish between real problems and manufactured outrage designed to steal your attention. You eliminate news notifications during work hours. You unfollow social media accounts that consistently trigger overthinking about things you cannot change. You stop reading comment sections that add nothing valuable to your life. You choose one specific time per day to check news and limit it to 15 minutes maximum. The rest of your mental bandwidth gets protected for problems you can actually solve. Your fourth practical technique is called energy vampire identification, because some people are professional thought hijackers who will drain your mental clarity if you let them. Energy vampires always have emergencies that become your problems. They complain constantly but reject every solution you offer. They guilt trip you for having boundaries. They make you feel responsible for their emotional state. Once you identify energy vampires in your life, you limit your exposure and refuse to absorb their chaos. You can care about people without letting them drain your mental battery. Your fifth practical technique is the daily mental inventory, because protecting your perimeter requires constant vigilance about what gets access to your thoughts. Every evening, you ask yourself 3 questions. What thoughts took up the most mental space today? How much of that mental space was spent on things I can control versus things I cannot control? What mental boundaries do I need to strengthen tomorrow? This practice helps you notice thought patterns that waste your energy and redirect your focus toward what actually deserves your attention. Your sixth practical technique is called the Not My Circus Protocol. For when your mind tries to solve problems that belong to other people, the moment you catch yourself overthinking someone else's relationship drama, work problems, or family conflicts, you say out loud, "Not my circus, not my monkeys," and physically move your body. Stand up, change rooms, go outside. Physical movement reinforces the mental boundary and signals to your brain that you are not responsible for solving other people's problems. You have to understand that building mental boundaries feels uncomfortable at first, because you were programmed to believe that caring means constant worry. You were taught that love means absorbing other people's pain. You were trained to think that responsibility means trying to solve problems you have no power over. These beliefs are lies that keep you mentally exhausted and emotionally drained. Real caring means staying strong enough to help when help is actually needed. Real love means maintaining your peace so you can be a source of stability for others. Build your perimeter and guard it with your life, because when you protect your mental space, you become infinitely more valuable to everyone around you. When you stop absorbing chaos, you become a source of calm. When you stop reacting to every trigger, you become someone people trust with real problems. When you focus on your territory of control, you create results that inspire others to focus on theirs. You cannot give mental clarity if your own mind is clouded with other people's noise. The choice you make today determines the quality of every thought you think tomorrow. You can continue letting external chaos colonize your headspace, or you can start building strength in the mental territory that belongs to you. You can keep letting other people's priorities determine your focus, or you can become ruthlessly selective about what gets access to your mind. Every day you wait is another day you surrender your mental peace to forces that do not care about your well-being, your growth, or your future happiness. Your overthinking is not permanent. It is a habit pattern built from years of absorbing mental noise that does not belong to you. Every time you practice these boundary techniques, you reclaim a piece of your mental territory. Every time you choose strategic indifference over pointless concern, you strengthen your perimeter. Every time you redirect worry energy toward problems you can actually solve, you prove to yourself that you control what gets access to your thoughts. Build your perimeter and guard it with your life, starting immediately. Right now, in this moment, make the decision to protect your mental space like it is the most valuable thing you own, because it is. The next time someone tries to make their chaos your crisis, use your boundary phrases. The next time you catch your mind spinning about things outside your control, implement the control circle exercise. The next time anxiety rises, ask yourself the territory question, my problem or not my problem? If it is yours, take action. If it is not yours, release it completely and guard your peace with your life. Chapter 4. The Daily War You Must Win. The life you want is not built in grand moments of inspiration. It is forged in the small, daily battles against distraction that you either win or lose before most people wake up. Right now, you are losing a war you do not even know you are fighting. Every notification that steals your focus. Every morning, you start by checking someone else's agenda. Every hour you surrender to reactive chaos instead of proactive creation. You are bleeding out your potential in tiny cuts throughout the day, wondering why you never have mental clarity to build the life you actually want. Today, you learn to treat each day as a battlefield where your future self is at stake. The daily war you must win starts the moment consciousness returns each morning. That first hour determines whether you control the day or the day controls you. That first hour decides if you are the architect of your mental state or a victim of whatever chaos finds you first. Most people lose this war within 30 seconds of waking up, reaching for their phone to mainline other people's priorities directly into their brain. They check emails that create instant anxiety. They scroll social media that triggers comparison. They absorb news that fills their mind with problems they cannot solve. By the time they get out of bed, they have already surrendered their mental territory to external forces. I watched a woman named Sarah build a seven-figure business in exactly 1 protected hour each morning, while working a full-time job and raising 3 kids. Everyone around her said it was impossible. She had no investors, no connections, no special advantages. What she had was the first-hour victory principle, and she defended it like her life depended on it, because it did. Every morning at 5 a.m., before anyone else woke up, before the world could make demands on her attention, she won the first battle of the day. In that sacred hour, she built her empire one focused session at a time. Here is your first tactical weapon for winning the daily war. Starting tomorrow morning, you implement the phone quarantine protocol. Your phone sleeps in a different room tonight, not beside your bed. You buy a $20 alarm clock if necessary. When you wake up, you do not touch your phone for the first 60 minutes. No exceptions. No checking the time. No quick email scan. No harmless social media scroll. That first hour belongs exclusively to you, and you protect it with militant discipline. During that hour, you do one thing that moves your most important goal forward. Write, exercise, plan, create, build. Whatever matters most to you gets that golden hour of untouched focus. Your second tactical weapon is the 3 critical decisions framework. Every morning during your protected hour, you identify exactly 3 decisions that will make today a victory, not tasks, not to-dos. Decisions. Maybe deciding to have that difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Maybe deciding to submit the proposal despite your fear. Maybe deciding to say no to the meeting that wastes your time. You write these 3 decisions down, and you execute them before noon. Most people fill their days with 50 meaningless activities. You focus on 3 critical decisions that actually change your trajectory. Your third tactical weapon is called the attention audit, and you perform it 3 times throughout the day. At 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 6 p.m., you stop everything for 60 seconds and ask yourself one question. What has controlled my attention for the last 2 hours? If the answer is your chosen priority, you continue. If the answer is random reactions to other people's urgencies, you immediately course correct. This simple audit prevents you from sleepwalking through entire days in reactive mode, wondering where your time went. Your fourth tactical weapon is the victory ritual, performed every night before sleep. You write down one way you won the war today. Maybe you protected your morning hour despite pressure. Maybe you stayed focused on your priority when distractions attacked. Maybe you said no to something that would have stolen your energy. You must acknowledge daily victories, because your brain needs evidence that winning this war is possible. Without recognition of progress, your mind defaults to believing you are losing, even when you are winning. Your fifth tactical weapon is the distraction combat training. You deliberately practice focus under increasingly difficult conditions. Start with 5 minutes of completely focused work, then 10 minutes, then 20. Turn off all notifications, close all tabs, put your phone in another room. When your mind wants to check something, you write it down instead of acting on it. This is not about perfection. This is about building your attention muscle through progressive resistance training, exactly like building physical strength. The people who build extraordinary lives are not people with extraordinary talent. They are people who win ordinary daily battles with extraordinary consistency. They wake up every morning knowing that the day ahead contains hundreds of micro-choices, and each choice is a vote. A vote for the person they are becoming, or a vote for the person they used to be. A vote for focused creation, or a vote for scattered reaction. They choose their battles wisely, and they win them relentlessly. This daily war requires you to become comfortable with temporary discomfort. The discomfort of not checking your phone immediately. The discomfort of missing out on digital gossip. The discomfort of people calling you unavailable when you protect your focus time. But this temporary discomfort purchases permanent peace. Every morning you win the first hour, you prove to yourself that you control your attention. Every time you execute your 3 critical decisions, you build momentum that becomes unstoppable. The daily war you must win is not about perfection. It is about direction. Some days you will lose battles. Your phone will win. Distraction will triumph. Reactive chaos will overwhelm your defenses. That is acceptable as long as you return to battle the next morning with renewed determination. What is not acceptable is surrendering permanently. What is not acceptable is letting days turn into weeks of reactive existence. What is not acceptable is knowing these weapons exist and refusing to use them. Your future self is being built right now, in this moment, through the attention choices you make today. You either win the daily war for your focus, or you lose the bigger war for your life. There is no middle ground. There is no neutral territory. Every moment, you are not actively protecting your attention. Someone else is actively stealing it. The question is not whether you will fight this war. The question is whether you will fight to win, starting with tomorrow morning's first victory. Chapter 5. Boundaries as your first line of defense. Your mental peace is under constant attack, and you are the one who keeps opening the gates. Every text message you answer immediately, every favor you cannot refuse, every drama you absorb like it is your responsibility, every guilt trip that makes you abandon your priorities. Right now, you are living with no defensive perimeter around your energy, wondering why you feel mentally exhausted by noon. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are the necessary defenses that protect your ability to show up powerfully for what actually matters. Today, you learn to stop being a passive recipient of other people's chaos and start being the intentional architect of your own peace. Boundaries, as your first line of defense, means accepting a truth that makes most people uncomfortable. Not every request deserves a response. Not every emergency is your emergency. Not every relationship is worth the mental cost of maintaining it. You have been programmed to believe that good people have no boundaries, that love means unlimited availability, that caring requires constant sacrifice. These beliefs are not just wrong, they are dangerous. They turn you into an energy donor for everyone else's chaos, while your own life falls apart from neglect. Let me tell you about Marcus, a brilliant engineer whose inability to set boundaries nearly destroyed everything he built. He answered every call, regardless of the hour. He solved every problem, regardless of whose responsibility it was. He attended every meeting, regardless of relevance. His phone buzzed constantly with requests, and he responded to each one like his life depended on it. By age 40, he was successful on paper, but dying inside. Anxiety attacks during presentations, insomnia that lasted weeks, resentment toward everyone who needed something from him. He was drowning in other people's priorities while his own dreams suffocated from lack of oxygen. Here is your first armored script for defending your boundaries. When someone makes a non-urgent request that conflicts with your priorities, you respond, "Thank you for thinking of me. I cannot commit to that right now, but I hope it goes well." No explanation, no justification, no negotiation. The power of this script is its completeness. You acknowledge, you decline, you close. Most people destroy their boundaries by over-explaining, which invites debate and negotiation. Your no needs no explanation beyond your decision to say it. Your second armored script handles emotional manipulation. When someone tries to guilt you into abandoning your boundaries, you say, "I understand you are disappointed, and my decision stands." You do not defend. You do not argue. You do not justify. You acknowledge their emotion without accepting responsibility for it. Their disappointment is not your emergency. Their frustration is not your failure. Their anger is not your problem to solve. You can care about people without sacrificing yourself on the altar of their expectations. Your third armored script addresses the chronic boundary violators who ignore your first no. You say, "I have already given you my answer, and it will not change. Please respect my decision." Then you stop responding. You do not engage in further discussion. You do not repeat your reasons. You do not negotiate with boundary terrorists. Some people will test every boundary you set, looking for weakness. Your job is to be so consistent that they learn your boundaries are non-negotiable. Your fourth defensive technique is the response time revolution. You train people how to treat you by how quickly you respond to non-urgent requests. Stop answering texts immediately unless they are genuine emergencies. Wait 2 hours. Wait until tomorrow. Wait until you have completed your priority work. Every time you drop everything to respond instantly, you teach people that your time has no value. Every time you delay non-urgent responses, you teach people that your focus is protected and valuable. Your fifth defensive technique is called boundary bankruptcy, for when your life has become so invaded that you need a complete reset. You send one message to everyone who regularly violates your boundaries. I am restructuring my commitments to focus on key priorities. I will be unavailable for non-essential requests for the next 30 days while I recalibrate. Then you enforce it ruthlessly. No exceptions, no special cases, no guilt-driven surrenders. Sometimes you need to burn everything down to rebuild with proper defenses. Your sixth defensive technique is the energy exchange evaluation. Before accepting any request, you calculate the true cost. How much mental energy will this require? How much time will this actually take, including preparation and recovery? What will I have to sacrifice to accommodate this? If the cost exceeds the value, you decline immediately. Most people say yes without calculating cost, then wonder why they are mentally bankrupt. You evaluate every request like an investment decision because your energy is your most valuable currency. Building boundaries as your first line of defense requires accepting that some people will be angry. They will call you selfish for protecting your energy. They will call you uncaring for having limits. They will call you difficult for not being constantly available. Let them. Their anger is the sound of your boundaries working. Their frustration is evidence that you are no longer controllable. Their disappointment is proof that you value your peace more than their approval. The strongest boundaries are built from clarity, not anger. You do not need to be harsh to be firm. You do not need to be cruel to be clear. You simply need to know that your mental peace is not negotiable, and anyone who demands you sacrifice it does not deserve unlimited access to your life. Every boundary you set is an act of self-respect. Every no you deliver is a yes to something that matters more. Every moment you protect is a moment you can invest in building the life you actually want. This is where your transformation accelerates. Not through doing more, but through defending your right to do less. Not through being available to everyone, but through being powerfully present for the few things that truly matter. You cannot be everything to everyone and anything to yourself. You must choose. And that choice starts with building boundaries as your first line of defense, then defending them like your mental peace depends on it, because it does. Chapter 6. Failure is not your identity. You are terrified of failure because you have made a catastrophic programming error. You confuse the event of failing with the identity of being a failure. This single misunderstanding has paralyzed you from taking every risk that could transform your life. Right now, you are living in a mental prison where every mistake feels like a verdict on your worth. Every setback feels like proof of your inadequacy. Every failure feels like a permanent stain on your identity. Today, you learn to reclassify failure as nothing more than a diagnostic report. Clean, emotionless data that tells you exactly how to improve. Failure is not your identity, but you have been programmed to believe it is. From the moment you entered school, you were taught that mistakes equal unworthiness. Red marks on papers meant shame. Wrong answers meant humiliation. Poor performance meant disappointing everyone who mattered. You internalized a toxic equation. I failed, therefore, I am a failure. This equation has been running in your subconscious for decades, making you avoid every opportunity that carries risk of failure, which means avoiding every opportunity that carries potential for growth. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Stephen King's first novel was rejected 30 times. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job for being unfit for TV. These are not stories of people who avoided failure. These are stories of people who understood that failure is data, not identity. They treated each failure like a diagnostic report that revealed exactly what needed adjustment. No emotion, no drama, no identity crisis, just information about what to do differently next time. Here is your first diagnostic tool for stripping failure of its emotional power. When you experience any form of failure, you immediately perform the clinical analysis protocol. You write down exactly what happened without any emotional language. Instead of, I screwed up the presentation and everyone thought I was an idiot, you write, the presentation did not achieve its intended outcome. Specific issues: insufficient preparation on slide 7, unclear explanation of the third point, nervousness affected delivery. This clinical language removes the emotional charge and reveals actionable data. Your second diagnostic tool is the failure archive, where you document every failure with its corresponding lesson: date, situation, outcome, lesson learned, adjustment made. This archive becomes your personal instruction manual for growth. Most people try to forget failures as quickly as possible. You study them like a scientist, studying experimental results. Over time, you notice patterns. You identify weak points. You see exactly where your system needs upgrading. The archive transforms failure from a source of shame into a source of strategic intelligence. Your third diagnostic tool is called identity separation, and you practice it every time failure occurs. You say out loud, I am not my results. I am the person who learns from results. This verbal pattern interrupt prevents your brain from cementing the connection between the event and your identity. You failed at something. You are not a failure. You made a mistake. You are not a mistake. You had a setback. You are not a setback. The event is temporary. Your identity is separate. This distinction must be reinforced every single time, or your brain will default to the toxic equation. Your fourth diagnostic tool is the minimum viable failure strategy. Instead of avoiding all risk, you deliberately seek small, controlled failures that build your tolerance. Submit the article that might get rejected. Ask for the raise that might be denied. Attempt the project that might not work. Start with failures that would rate a 2 out of 10 on your fear scale. Then gradually increase. This progressive exposure trains your nervous system to handle failure without panic, exactly like building immunity through controlled exposure. Your fifth diagnostic tool is called failure reframing, where you convert every failure story in your past from tragedy to education. Take your most painful failure memory, write it out as it currently exists in your mind, with all the emotional weight, then rewrite it as a technical case study. What were the variables? What was the hypothesis? What was the result? What data was gathered? What adjustments were indicated? This rewriting process literally changes how your brain stores and recalls the memory, stripping it of its emotional terrorism. I discovered this truth after my first business collapsed spectacularly. 3 years of work gone, life savings evaporated, reputation damaged. Everyone watched me fail in real time. I spent 6 months drowning in shame, convinced this failure defined my worth. Then I met a serial entrepreneur who had failed 7 times before building a $100 million company. He said something that rewired my brain permanently. Your failures are not your identity. They are your education. The only people who never fail are people who never try anything worth doing. The normalization of failure does not mean you become careless. It means you become calculating. You still prepare thoroughly. You still work diligently. You still pursue excellence. But you no longer let fear of failure paralyze you from attempting what matters. You understand that failure is the entry fee for growth. Every expert was once a disaster. Every master was once a mess. Every success story is built on a foundation of failures that provided the exact data needed for eventual victory. Your sixth diagnostic tool is the failure announcement practice. When you fail at something, you tell 3 people within 24 hours. Not for sympathy, not for comfort, for normalization. I tried this. It did not work. Here is what I learned. This practice destroys shame before it can take root. Shame thrives in secrecy and silence. When you speak failure out loud, without emotional weight, you prove to your nervous system that failure is not dangerous. It is just information. Here is what changes when you stop treating failure as identity. You start taking intelligent risks instead of living in safe mediocrity. You iterate quickly instead of planning endlessly. You learn faster because you are willing to fail faster. You become unstoppable, not because you never fail, but because failure no longer stops you. The people you admire did not achieve greatness by avoiding failure. They achieved greatness by failing forward with such consistency that success became inevitable. Failure is not your identity, and it never was. It is a diagnostic report in the laboratory of your life. Every failure reveals data about what works and what needs adjustment. Every mistake provides intelligence about how to improve your approach. Every setback offers information about where to strengthen your system. You can spend your life running from failure, which means running from growth. Or you can normalize failure as the price of admission for anything worth achieving. The choice you make determines whether you live fully or die safely. Chapter 7. Your body is the reset button. You cannot think your way out of an anxiety spiral because anxiety does not live in your thoughts. It lives in your body. Right now, you are trying to solve a physical problem with mental solutions, like trying to put out a fire by thinking really hard about water. Your racing heart, shallow breathing, and clenched muscles are not symptoms of your anxiety. They are your anxiety. And the only way out is through your body, not your mind. Today, you stop being a victim of your physical stress response and start becoming the master of your own nervous system. Your body is the reset button, but you have been pressing the wrong buttons for years. You tried to calm down by telling yourself to calm down, which is like trying to stop a car by yelling at the engine. You tried to think positive thoughts while your body was flooded with stress hormones. You tried to logic your way out of panic while your nervous system was hijacked by ancient survival mechanisms. None of it worked because you were fighting on the wrong battlefield. The war against anxiety is won in the body, not the mind. I discovered this after spending 2 years in therapy, talking endlessly about my anxiety without ever feeling better. Then I met a former Navy SEAL who taught me something that changed everything. He said, "Your thoughts follow your physiology, not the other way around. Control your breathing, and you control your state. Control your state, and you control your life." He was right. In 15 minutes of physical protocols, he gave me more control over my anxiety than 2 years of talking about it. Here is your first physical reset protocol, the 4x4 tactical breath that military operators use to stay calm under fire. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts. Hold empty for 4 counts. Repeat 4 times. This is not meditation. This is not relaxation. This is a mechanical hack that forces your nervous system to shift from sympathetic activation to parasympathetic recovery. You are manually overriding your stress response using the only thing that is both automatic and controllable: your breath. Your second physical reset protocol is called cold water immersion, and it trains your body to handle stress without panic. Fill a bowl with ice water. Submerge your face for 10 seconds. Your body will scream emergency signals, but you stay calm through conscious breathing. This is not about toughness. This is about teaching your nervous system that you can experience intense physical discomfort without losing control. Start with 10 seconds, build to 30. Every session proves to your body that you control the response, not the other way around. Your third physical reset protocol is the anxiety discharge sequence, for when stress energy gets trapped in your body. 20 jumping jacks to mobilize the energy, 10 push-ups to channel it, 5 burpees to exhaust it, then the 4x4 breath to recalibrate. This sequence takes 2 minutes and works better than an hour of worrying. Anxiety is energy that needs to move. When you trap it with stillness, it ricochets inside you like a pinball. When you discharge it through movement, it completes its cycle and releases. Your fourth physical reset protocol is called progressive tension release, for when anxiety creates chronic physical holding patterns. Clench every muscle in your body as hard as possible for 5 seconds, then release completely, like a puppet with cut strings. Feel the contrast between maximum tension and total relaxation. Repeat 3 times. This practice teaches your body the difference between necessary tension and unnecessary holding. Most people live at 60% tension all day without realizing it. This protocol resets your baseline to actual relaxation. Your fifth physical reset protocol is the posture power shift, because your body position directly controls your mental state. Stand up straight, shoulders back, chest open, chin up. Hold this position for 2 minutes while breathing deeply. Your brain cannot maintain anxiety in a position of physical confidence. This is not fake it till you make it. This is biological reality. Your posture sends signals to your brain about your state. Collapsed posture signals defeat. Expanded posture signals confidence. You choose your state by choosing your shape. Your sixth physical reset protocol is called bilateral stimulation, borrowed from trauma therapy, but effective for everyday anxiety. Cross your arms over your chest, hands on opposite shoulders. Tap alternately, left, right, 20 times per side. This simple movement activates both brain hemispheres and interrupts anxiety loops. You can do this anywhere, anytime, without anyone noticing. It is your secret weapon for resetting your nervous system in public without looking like you are having a crisis. You have to understand that your body keeps the score of every stress, every fear, every moment of panic you have ever experienced. It holds these patterns like muscle memory, ready to activate at the slightest trigger. But just as your body learned these patterns, it can unlearn them. Every time you use these physical protocols, you teach your nervous system a new response. Every time you reset through your body instead of your mind, you prove that you are in control. The strongest people are not those without anxiety. They are those who have mastered the physical protocols to reset their state on command. They understand that anxiety is not a thinking problem requiring thought solutions. It is a body problem requiring body solutions. They do not wait for anxiety to pass. They actively discharge it through physical intervention. They treat their nervous system like a machine that occasionally needs a hard reboot, not like a mysterious force beyond their control. Your body is the reset button, and these protocols are how you press it. The next time anxiety rises, do not retreat into your head looking for answers. Drop into your body and take action. Breathe the 4x4 pattern. Discharge through movement. Reset through tension release. Shift your posture. Activate bilateral stimulation. These are not suggestions. These are commands from you to your nervous system. You are not asking your body to calm down. You are forcing it to calm down through mechanical intervention. This is where your power lives, not in perfect thoughts or positive thinking, but in direct physical control of your state. Your body is the reset button. Press it deliberately. Press it consistently. Press it until calm becomes your new default setting. Chapter 8. Finding Peace in Relationships. You are destroying your relationships by trying to control them, and you are destroying your peace by tying it to other people's behavior. Right now, you are living like an emotional detective, analyzing every text for hidden meaning, dissecting every conversation for signs of problems, monitoring your partner's mood like a stock ticker. You think this vigilance keeps you safe, but it is actually creating the exact insecurity you are trying to avoid. Today, you learn to untangle your peace from their behavior and build connections based on trust instead of surveillance. Finding peace in relationships requires accepting a brutal truth that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. You cannot control another person's feelings, thoughts, or choices, no matter how much you love them. You cannot worry them into loving you more. You cannot analyze them into being faithful. You cannot predict their behavior by becoming a mind reader. Every minute you spend trying to control relationship outcomes is a minute stolen from actually being present in the relationship. I learned this after destroying 3 relationships through anxious attachment. I checked their social media obsessively, looking for threats. I analyzed every interaction they had with others, searching for signs of interest. I needed constant reassurance that everything was okay, which ensured that nothing ever was. My anxiety became a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more I grasped for security, the more I pushed them away. The tighter I held on, the more they wanted to escape. Here is your first relationship reset protocol, called Emotional Independence Training. Every day for the next 30 days, you identify one source of happiness that has nothing to do with your partner. A skill you are developing, a goal you are pursuing, a friendship you are nurturing. You build a life so full that your partner's mood cannot destroy your day. This is not about caring less. This is about having multiple sources of fulfillment. So, one person's behavior does not determine your entire emotional state. Your second relationship reset protocol is the question quarantine, when your mind creates anxious questions like, "What did they mean by that?" Or, "Why did not they text back?" You write the question down and wait 24 hours before addressing it. 9 times out of 10, the question answers itself or stops mattering. That weird text was just them being tired. That delayed response was just them being busy. Most relationship anxiety is just your brain creating problems that do not exist. Your third relationship reset protocol is called the trust decision. You make a conscious choice. Either trust this person completely or leave the relationship. No middle ground. No partial trust. No constant verification. If you choose trust, you stop checking their phone. Stop analyzing their behavior. Stop looking for evidence of problems. If you cannot choose trust, you end it cleanly. Living in permanent suspicion is torture for both of you. Make the decision and live by it completely. Your fourth relationship reset protocol is the reassurance weaning process. If you constantly seek reassurance about the relationship, you start reducing requests by half each week. Week 1, if you normally ask for reassurance 10 times, you ask 5 times. Week 2, you ask twice. Week 3, you ask once. This forces you to self-soothe instead of making your partner responsible for managing your anxiety. You learn to generate internal security instead of demanding external validation. Your fifth relationship reset protocol is called the separate realities practice. You accept that your partner lives in a completely different mental universe than you. They do not think like you. They do not process emotions like you. They do not communicate like you. Instead of trying to make them operate in your reality, you get curious about theirs. You ask questions to understand, not to change. You observe their patterns without judgment. This curiosity replaces anxiety with genuine interest. Your sixth relationship reset protocol is the conflict recovery method. After any argument, you each separately write down 3 things: what I was actually upset about, what I need going forward, what I appreciate about how we handled this. Then you share without defending or attacking. This protocol prevents conflicts from becoming recurring anxiety triggers. It transforms arguments from relationship threats into relationship data. The woman who taught me these protocols had been married 35 years to the same man. When I asked her secret, she said something that rewired my understanding of relationships forever. I stopped trying to prevent him from leaving and started focusing on being someone worth staying for. I stopped monitoring his happiness and started creating my own. I stopped needing guarantees and started enjoying uncertainty. peace in relationships does not come from control. It comes from acceptance. You have to understand that anxious attachment is not love. It is fear dressed up as care. When you monitor your partner obsessively, you are not protecting the relationship. You are suffocating it. When you need constant reassurance, you are not seeking connection. You are seeking control. When you analyze every interaction, you are not being thorough. You are being exhausting. Your anxiety is not keeping the relationship safe. It is making the relationship feel like a prison. Finding peace in relationships means building your security from the inside out. You become someone who enhances their life without needing to be their life. You offer love without demanding proof of reciprocation. You stay present without predicting the future. You trust completely or you leave completely, but you never live in the exhausting middle ground of perpetual vigilance. Your relationship anxiety is not about them. It is about your unwillingness to tolerate uncertainty. But uncertainty is the price of genuine connection. You cannot have deep love without the risk of deep loss. You cannot have real intimacy without real vulnerability. You cannot have authentic relationship without accepting that it might end. The people with peaceful relationships are not people who found guarantees. They are people who learned to love without them. This is where your relationship transformation begins. Not with finding the perfect person who will never trigger your anxiety, but with becoming someone whose peace does not depend on another person's behavior. You stop being an emotional detective and start being an emotional adult. You stop trying to control outcomes and start enjoying experiences. You stop needing promises about tomorrow and start being present for today. Chapter 9. Guarding the doors of your mind. You are poisoning your mind every single day, and you are calling it staying informed. Every horror story on the news, every outrage on social media, every comparison on Instagram, every toxic comment thread, you cannot stop reading. You have given unlimited access to your consciousness, to forces specifically designed to make you anxious, angry, and insecure. You would never eat garbage all day and expect to feel healthy. Yet you consume mental garbage constantly and wonder why your thoughts are toxic. Today, you become the militant guardian of what enters your mind. Guarding the doors of your mind is not about ignorance. It is about intelligence. Right now, you are drowning in information that adds zero value to your life while stealing all your mental peace. You know about disasters you cannot prevent. You have opinions about controversies that do not affect you. You feel emotions about strangers' lives while ignoring your own. You are living in a state of manufactured urgency about manufactured problems, and it is destroying your ability to think clearly about what actually matters. My mental clarity transformed the day I realized a simple truth. The news is not designed to inform you. It is designed to addict you. Social media is not designed to connect you. It is designed to compare you. Every notification, every headline, every algorithm is engineered to hijack your attention and monetize your anxiety. You are not a consumer of content. You are the product being consumed. Your distress is their profit model. Here is your first mental defense protocol: the information diet. Starting today, you eliminate all news consumption for 7 days. No news apps, no news websites, no news channels, no news discussions. If something genuinely important happens that affects your life directly, you will hear about it. Everything else is mental poison, disguised as civic duty. After 7 days, you limit news to 15 minutes on Sunday morning. That is enough to stay informed without being infected. Your second mental defense protocol is called the algorithm assassination. You unfollow every social media account that consistently triggers comparison, outrage, or anxiety. Every influencer who makes you feel inadequate. Every page that posts divisive content. Every person whose updates drain your energy. Your feed should be a curated gallery of inspiration, education, and genuine connection. Anything else gets eliminated without apology or explanation. Your third mental defense protocol is the morning sanctuary. The first 30 minutes after waking are protected territory. No phone, no emails, no external input whatsoever. This time belongs exclusively to setting your mental state for the day. You can journal, meditate, exercise, or simply drink coffee in silence. But no outside information enters until you have established your internal baseline. You set your frequency before the world tries to tune you to theirs. Your fourth mental defense protocol is called the notification nuclear option. Turn off every single notification except direct calls and texts from essential contacts. No email notifications, no app notifications, no news alerts, no social media pings. Every notification is someone else's agenda interrupting your focus. You check things when you choose, not when they demand. This single change will reduce your anxiety by 50% within 1 week. Your fifth mental defense protocol is the content replacement strategy. For every toxic input you eliminate, you add one valuable input. Delete news apps, add learning apps. Unfollow outrage accounts. Follow creators who teach skills. Stop reading comments. Start reading books. You are not creating an information vacuum. You are replacing junk food with nutrition. Your mind becomes what you feed it, so feed it deliberately. Your sixth mental defense protocol is called the evening cleanse. 1 hour before bed, all screens go off. No exceptions. No scrolling in bed. No last-minute email checks. No falling asleep to videos. Your mind needs time to process and settle before sleep. This hour of digital silence improves your sleep quality, reduces anxiety, and stops you from mainlining cortisol right before trying to rest. I watched a friend named Daniel transform from anxious wreck to calm operator using these exact protocols. He was a news junkie who checked headlines 50 times a day, social media addict who scrolled for hours, comment section warrior who fought strangers online. His mind was a battlefield of other people's opinions and manufactured crises. 6 months after implementing the information diet, he had started a business, improved his marriage, and eliminated his anxiety medication. Not because his life got easier, but because he stopped importing other people's chaos. You must understand that your attention is not infinite. Every minute you spend consuming garbage is a minute you cannot spend creating value. Every emotion you waste on manufactured outrage is energy stolen from real relationships. Every thought you give to strangers' drama is focus removed from your own growth. You are trading your mental peace for information that will not matter in a week, about people you will never meet, regarding situations you cannot change. The people who live with mental clarity are not uninformed. They are strategically informed. They know the difference between important and urgent. They understand that most breaking news is just broken thinking. They recognize that social media is not reality, but reality's highlight reel with a negativity filter. They guard their minds like fortresses because they know that once anxiety enters, it multiplies like a virus. Guarding the doors of your mind requires accepting that you will miss things. You will not know about every tragedy. You will not have opinions about every controversy. You will not participate in every cultural conversation. And that is exactly the point. You are choosing depth over breadth, quality over quantity, peace over panic. You are deciding that your mental state is more valuable than staying current on chaos. This is where your mental sovereignty begins. Not with consuming better content, but with consuming less content. Not with finding better sources, but with needing fewer sources. You stop letting the world's chaos become your internal state. You stop allowing algorithms to determine your emotional weather. You become the conscious curator of your mental environment, letting in only what serves your growth and guards your peace. Chapter 10: The Unshakable Perspective. You are wasting your life worrying about things that will not matter on your deathbed, and you know it. That presentation next week that is keeping you awake. That awkward interaction from yesterday you cannot stop replaying. That social media post that did not get enough likes. In your final moments, none of this will matter, yet right now it is stealing your peace like it is life or death. Today, you learn to use your mortality as the ultimate anxiety filter, burning away everything trivial and revealing what actually deserves your mental energy. The unshakable perspective is not about becoming morbid. It is about becoming mathematical. You have approximately 700,000 hours in your lifetime. You have already spent a third of them. Every hour you waste in anxious loops about meaningless problems is an hour you stole from what actually matters. Every day you spend worried about other people's opinions is a day you cannot get back. The clarity of death is the cure for the confusion of life. When you remember you are dying, you stop wasting time on what is already dead. Steve Jobs said it best. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. He used this perspective to build the most valuable company on earth, while others worried about office politics. He focused on creating, while others focused on competing. He understood that death is not the enemy of life. Forgetting about death is the enemy of life. When you forget you are dying, you act like you have unlimited time to waste on unlimited worries. Here is your first mortality protocol, the deathbed filter. Every time anxiety rises about something, you ask one question. On my deathbed, will I wish I had spent more mental energy on this? If the answer is no, you immediately redirect your focus. That work drama that feels overwhelming, deathbed filter says irrelevant. That person who unfollowed you on social media, deathbed filter says meaningless. That mistake you made 3 years ago, deathbed filter says delete it. This is not minimizing. This is prioritizing based on ultimate reality. Your second mortality protocol is called the terminal diagnosis exercise. Once a month, you spend 10 minutes imagining you just received a terminal diagnosis with 6 months to live. What would you immediately stop caring about? Write it down. What would you immediately start doing? Write it down. What relationships would suddenly matter? Write it down. Now live accordingly. Do not wait for an actual diagnosis to start living by your actual values. Your third mortality protocol is the legacy clarity practice. Write your own eulogy as you want it to read, not achievements or accumulations, but who you were and how you made people feel. Then audit your current life against that eulogy. Are you becoming that person? Are your daily actions aligned with that legacy? Most people are building toward a eulogy that reads, "They worried a lot and scrolled through their phone." You are going to build towards something that matters. Your fourth mortality protocol is called perspective anchoring. Set 5 alarms throughout your day. When they go off, you stop for 10 seconds and remember, I am going to die, so this current worry is probably not worth my life force. This is not depressing. This is liberating. Every reminder of mortality is a reminder to stop wasting energy on immortal worries. You are training your brain to automatically filter anxiety through the lens of limited time. Your fifth mortality protocol is the obituary test for any major decision causing anxiety. Write 2 obituaries. One where you took the risk and failed. One where you never tried. Which one makes you feel more regret? The answer tells you what to do. Most people are more afraid of temporary embarrassment than permanent regret. The obituary test reverses this by showing you the true cost of letting fear make your decisions. I learned this perspective after watching my mentor James die at 52 from sudden cardiac arrest. Perfectly healthy on Monday, dead on Wednesday. His last week was spent stressed about quarterly reports that no one remembers, anxious about a promotion that did not matter, angry about traffic that was irrelevant. He died having won every game that did not matter while losing the only game that did. Actually living while alive. Your 6th mortality protocol is called death math. Calculate how many days you likely have left. If you are 40 with a life expectancy of 80, You have roughly 14,600 days remaining. Write this number where you see it daily. Every morning, subtract 1. Watch that number decrease. Feel the weight of finite time. This is not about creating panic. This is about creating priority. When you see your days as numbered, you stop treating them as disposable. The unshakable perspective does not mean you stop caring about anything. It means you become militantly selective about what earns your care. Your child's well-being? Worth your mental energy? Your boss's mood? Not worth it. Building something meaningful? Worth your focus. Perfecting your image? Not worth it. Deep relationships? Worth your time. Surface popularity? Not worth it. The filter of mortality reveals what is gold and what is garbage. People think considering death is depressing, but living like you will live forever is what is actually depressing. It makes you postpone joy, delay important conversations, tolerate toxic situations, accept mediocre relationships, waste decades in jobs you hate. The awareness of death is not the opposite of life. It is the catalyst for life. It forces you to stop rehearsing and start performing. This is where true peace begins, not from solving every problem, but from recognizing which problems deserve solving, not from controlling every outcome, but from accepting the ultimate outcome. When you measure your worries against your mortality, 90% of them evaporate instantly. They reveal themselves as the meaningless mental noise they always were. What remains is clarity about what actually matters. The unshakable perspective is your final weapon against anxiety. Use it ruthlessly. Use it daily. Use it until the filter of death becomes your default lens for life. Every time anxiety rises, run it through the deathbed filter. Every time you feel overwhelmed, remember your number is decreasing. Every time you start spinning about something trivial, ask yourself if this is worth your limited life force. You are going to die. This is not a tragedy. This is your strategic advantage. While everyone else wastes their finite hours on infinite worries, you focus on what matters. While they lose sleep over temporary problems, you build permanent peace. While they die having never lived, you live knowing you are dying. This perspective is not just unshakable, it is unstoppable. Outro, your new default state. You started this journey drowning in mental noise, believing that overthinking was permanent, that anxiety was your destiny, that peace was for other people with easier lives and calmer brains. But now you know the truth. Your mental state is not determined by your circumstances. It is determined by your protocols. Every technique you learned, every boundary you built, every filter you installed has reconstructed your mind from the ground up. You are no longer a victim of mental chaos. You are the architect of mental clarity. And this is just the beginning. Your new default state is not perfection. Some days, the old patterns will resurface. Your ancient brain will sound false alarms. Your boundaries will be tested. Your mind will try to play their game. The difference is that now you have weapons. Now you have protocols. Now you know that every moment of mental chaos is just a cue to deploy your training. The noise might visit, but it no longer lives there. The anxiety might knock, but you no longer have to let it in. Remember what you have built. The morning routine that sets your frequency before the world can hijack it. The boundary phrases that protect your energy from emotional vampires. The physical protocols that reset your nervous system on command. The mortality filter that burns away trivial worries. These are not just techniques. They are your new operating system. They run automatically in the background, protecting your peace while you focus on what matters. The world has not become less chaotic. If anything, it will keep accelerating toward more complexity, more demands, more manufactured emergencies. But you have become unshakable. You have learned to find stillness in the storm. You have discovered that peace is not about changing the external. It is about mastering the internal. While everyone else reacts, you respond. While they spin, you stand firm. While they drown in noise, you operate from silence. This is your new default state: strategic indifference to what does not matter, laser focus on what does, boundaries that protect without apology, a body that stays regulated regardless of external chaos, relationships built on trust instead of control, a mind that filters out garbage and focuses on gold, the perspective of mortality that reveals what is actually important. You did not just read about these concepts, you installed them, you practiced them, you became them. But here is what matters most. This is not a one-time transformation. This is a daily practice. Every morning, you wake up and choose your default state. Every hour, you defend your boundaries. Every evening, you audit your mental territory. The world will keep trying to reprogram you back to anxiety. Your job is to keep choosing peace. Not because it is easy, but because you now know it is possible. The people you used to envy for their calm were not born that way. They built it through daily decisions. They chose their thoughts instead of being chosen by them. They guarded their energy instead of giving it away freely. They focused on their territory instead of trying to control the universe. Now you are one of them. Not because you are special, but because you did the work. Your peace is your responsibility. Now go build it. Every single day, build it. When you wake up tomorrow, implement your morning protocol. When boundaries get tested, deploy your phrases. When anxiety rises, use your body protocols. When trivial worries appear, apply the deathbed filter. This is not about perfection. This is about practice. This is not about never having anxiety. This is about never being controlled by it. The person who started this audiobook no longer exists. That person believed peace required perfect circumstances. You now know peace is a choice you make, regardless of circumstances. That person thought overthinking was protective. You now know overthinking is destructive. That person waited for the world to calm down. You now create calm in a chaotic world. Take everything you have learned and use it relentlessly. Share it with others who are drowning like you used to drown. Show them through your example that mental peace is not a luxury for the lucky few. It is a skill available to anyone willing to do the work. Your transformation becomes their permission. Your peace becomes their possibility. This is your new default state. Not anxious until proven calm, but calm until proven otherwise. Not reactive to every trigger, but responsive to what matters. Not drowning in everyone else's noise, but anchored in your own silence. The world will keep spinning. Let it. You have found your center. You have built your peace, and you will defend it with everything you have learned. Your peace is your responsibility. You now have every tool necessary to build it. No more excuses. No more waiting for perfect conditions. No more letting external chaos determine internal state. Starting right now, in this moment, you operate from your new default. Calm in chaos, clear in confusion, peaceful in pandemonium. Your peace is your responsibility. Now go build it. If something in this audiobook connected with you, even in a small way, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated most? What are you working on in your own journey? Your thoughts, your story, they truly matter here. Your feedback not only helps us create better content, but it could inspire someone else who's listening right now. So go ahead, drop a comment below, and share something real. We're listening, and we're growing together.